Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review, and check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to the Pray for Micah podcast. And now your host, Micah Chrisman.
Hello, welcome to the Pray for Micah podcast, where we explore art, community, spirituality, and our cosmic significance / insignificance. Today we're here with a special guest, Emmy Harr, but before we jump into introducing her, I just wanted to give everyone a little life update, a little precursor to the show. I am no longer living in Kansas City. Wah, wah, wah. Whatever, sad music. I love everybody and I miss everybody back home, but I've actually relocated to Asheville, North Carolina. So the show's been a little bit on a break for the last few months while I've been getting settled, getting an apartment, getting a new job, basically starting life all over in a new state, which I've never done before. And I was sharing with Emmy, I think the first month I was here, and she kind of witnessed me kind of have like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and everything is chaotic, and I'm trying to be creative. And she was actually a very delightful person to like process all that change for the brief conversation we had. And so it made me really excited to be able to get the show back up and running and have her on as a guest. So all of you, be praying for me. Send your prayers, all the masses, the movement across the world, every tongue and every language, everybody who's praying for Micah, send us your prayers to me and Rayla as we are now out here in Appalachian territory, exploring a new creative scene and seeing where the spirit leads us, or spirits. You know, they say that the hills are full of them, you know, here. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that was just a little life update. So thanks you all for following the show and being patient with letting us get back into the swing of things. Now on to our guest. Emmy Harr, also known as Ember, love that by the way, is a transformative guide, healer, mentor, and upcoming author. We'll have to get more into details of that. As the creator of Rippled Vibrations, Emmy offers group programs for beings of sacred service, or bosses, to deeply cleanse and rejuvenate their body, emotions, and spirituality using electric living water. Having built her first six-figure business at 26, Emmy understands the importance of hydration in both life and business. Now she guides others in fostering nourishing relationships. As a steward of the land, body, money, and children, Emmy embraces the interconnectedness of movement, money, and water, bringing a childlike ease to those around her. Passionate about connecting people with nature, Emmy believes that leading with service can create a new paradigm for our beautiful planet. Emmy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And also, thank you for your vulnerability. Like, what you open up is a space for anybody, but really speaking to men to be vulnerable and saying, hey, let's talk about the deep shit that nobody really talks about. Let's do the prayer thing that nobody really talks about. So just thank you for creating this space, and thank you for having me in it, on it, with it.
On it, with it. You know, that's kind of the whole thing of the show. It's kind of like a little tongue-in-cheek about you know, life and, you know, everything, but also recognizing like how important our journeys are. And I like hearing new people's stories, so that's why I don't know, I like to share and go deep about myself, but more so I like to tease out all of the juicy life stuff from other guests who come on the show. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to just tease out all the good nuggets of wisdom you have to share with us. And I'm sure everyone's going to be curious about all the stuff I've read, but about your bio, just like, what are you talking about? Water
Right, it's kinda like
and what
language.
is and money? Like, I don't know. Just that's what the dichotomy of some of these things is what I was excited about with the journey.
Totally, totally. I was just meditating before this, and it's funny because I had sent you the bio that was written, almost a year ago, and I was rereading the bio, and I realized the last part where it talks about the interconnectedness of money, movement, and water. And it's funny because I'm actually in process right now of creating a 5-day online free event that is literally called Money, Movement, Moisture. And I'm
Oh,
like, "Holy
really?
shit," like, I didn't e like, it's just so cool when, like, you don't even realize that, like, you're just so many aspects about your life or about your being is in alignment that it just, like, flows, it oozes out of you, and so that was just a cute reminder as I sent you that bio.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, and so let's just jump in. Like, tell us your backstory. Tell us about the six-figure income you used to make, boss woman over here, just making moves, taking numbers, and just kind of where that led you, because it's pretty incredible, like just where you started and your entrepreneurship, and it's
Mhm.
still there, but just
Yeah.
has taken a shift.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for that recognition. So it really began so I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and, I did the old victory lap in college because I didn't know what the F I wanted to do. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, okay.
I
So
I I ticked the box that says explicit. I think the only episodes I didn't have to do that was with my parents, these previous 2 episodes. So I was like, and I was kinda like, "Well, wait, should I still tick them just because, in case somebody stumbles across the show?" And I'm like, but yeah, there was no curse words. I think I said "damn" or something in the episode with them,
That's so
but
funny.
we dropped
Yeah,
some F-bombs on here.
okay, cool. That's, ironically one of my favorite words, and it's not even, like, the angry way, it's usually more of, like, the expressive way, very expressive. Okay, anyways, so did the old victory lap because I really had no idea what I wanted to do with life, but I realized, like, okay, this is now becoming very, an expensive journey to figure out what I wanted to do, right? And I went to a private college 4 out of the 5 years, and so, I'm very, very blessed for that, privilege, and I recognize that it is a privilege. And I will say most of that was my mom, like, pushing me into college, like, I didn't actually wanna go to college, which is so funny. Um, anyway, so I ended up graduating with a, studies in education and a minor in psychology. So basically kids, so teaching and the brain, peopling and teaching are kind of natural, gifts of mine. And so I really felt guided, and this in and of itself was a whole journey, but I ended up being led by spirit to move to Texas. So Wisconsin to Texas, about an 18-hour drive, literally like the furthest distance that you can go staying in the same time zone. And I just remember I was like 2 hours out of Austin because that's where we had landed, my friend at the time, my friend and roommate at the time. We landed in Austin, and I remember I was driving down alone 2 hours out, my whole being just started shaking, and I mean, like, shaking, and I'm naturally a pretty grounded person, like, I'm pretty chill, laid back, la, 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 but for some reason, like, I could just feel my entire energy bubble vibrating, and it wasn't in a good way, like, it wasn't like, um, excitement, this was, like, pure anxiety, and I didn't know it was anxiety at the time, I never really, like, associated myself with that,
Mm.
um and so I just remember finally after I'm driving in 2 hours of Austin traffic, which it takes about, yeah, 2 to 3 hours to get to South Austin from North Austin. And I finally landed in the parking lot of our apartment complex, and as soon as I put my foot on that land, I looked straight up to the sky at God, and I said, "What the fuck am I doing here?" Like, it just everything in my being felt so wrong, though when I was being led there, it was so, like, just a unequivocal yes, like, unshakable, "You need to move to Texas," right? So I was really, like, leaning into that, and I was really listening and trusting that I was supposed to be here. But when I'm in there, I'm just like, this fucking sucks already. Anyway, so I'm like trying to unpack and try to figure out like what I'm gonna do. I applied to literally like forest ranger jobs because I just wanted to be outside in Texas sun and work on my tan the entire time. And moving from Wisconsin, it was just, negative 33-degree wind chills. So it's like I wanted all the juice, all the sunshine. And I just remember like going to these job applications or like just indeed.com or whatever. And finally this one like woman caught my eye, and she was basically like, "Hey, we have a group interview. Come check this out. Flexible hours, freedom, la la la." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Everything else prior to that was like, "Build, be your own boss, time freedom, build, max out your prosperity." And it was just like so abruptly like, whoa. And I was a nanny. Like I was coming from the nanny world, respite provider, like working with kiddos, like so like anything that aggressive was just like not on my radar at that point. So the fact that this woman was like, "Hey, come check it out, no strings attached." I was like, "Cool, let's do it." So I went in there. There was like a handful of people, and it ended up being an insurance company. And the woman who would be my manager if I chose to move forward, she was just so passionate and in her personal power. And I was like, I need to be around that. Like I'd never been around women, like especially who were in a doing power, if you will, like just in their power. And so it's so funny because I'm, of course, asking all these questions about insurance. Like I didn't even know what a deductible was. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know any
Mm-hmm.
laws. I don't know any of this. I didn't know anything about money. And I was the only one engaged in the entire interview process because I'm just like milking all the information. And I march up to her at the end and I stick my hand out and I go, "My name is Emmy Harr and I would like to work with you." And of course she's trying to keep it cool, but like the little side smirk, and I can read energy. So like, but I didn't know I could read energy at the time. Anyway, so she was trying to keep it cool, but she was like, "Oh, well, I'll have my people get in contact with you and we'll set up the next stage of interview," right?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Right,
You're,
right. And
you're, you're good
now
enough.
knowing what I
Of
know
course.
about the insurance, like it's such a high turnover. So she was like desperate for me. You know what I mean? Like she
Uh-huh.
was desperate for me.
We'll see if we have like an opening or something. We're very highly sought after. We'll see.
Literally, literally, I have no idea. It's so cute. I was 22 at the time. Anyway, so yeah, we had our one-on-one interview, and she basically like, in the sales world, it's like choice of two positives close, which means you can either start next week or next month. Like, which one would you like? And I said, well, I'm here. Might as well start next month, right? Dove into 100% commission world, dove into sales, business, entrepreneurship, admin, door knocking, like all of these skills that I had zero even awareness of. Like no one in my family talked or did anything like this. And so I was literally working between working and studying. It was probably about 90 hours a week.
Oh my
And
gosh.
um yeah, well, and I was just, like, so in fear, like, it started sinking into me, like, "Oh, when you build a business, like, you will be broke initially," and that's very common, I didn't know it at the time, but you're going to be broke, and you're not gonna be, like, the best salesperson right off the bat, especially in a world that you know nothing about.
And
Uh,
in a new state, like in a
in a new
new
state.
like a whole new environment.
Yeah, I didn't have any family members to go practice on or like, sell to, no network whatsoever. And so it was like straight up cold marketing, door knocking in high heels on gravel roads, 120-degree Austin weather, broken air conditioning in my car. And I was like,
No, thank you. No,
we're
thank
out,
you.
right? Like the sweat just dripping down my back as I'm standing on people's porches, like introducing myself and being like, "Hey, I can help you with your Medicare transition," you know? Um, anyway, so fast forward, like finally after about a year and a half of just scarcity and fear and survival mode. I didn't realize it at the time. It was survival mode. I started to make some money. And then I started to like have fun with the money. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. Like the first year in insurance, I did $40,000 I never thought like working at a daycare as a provider, like if I did that full time, it'd be $17,000. So to me, I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. 1 year in and I'm at 40K. I'm rich, which I
I'm gonna
am. Right.
I'm gonna start getting my yacht soon, you know? Like
Oh, no, don't you think? I was like, and I work with retirement planning, right? Like that's what that
uh-huh.
was our niche, and my business partner was the financial advisor. So I'm like starting to get the high end vehicles like in place. Like,
Mm,
okay, how do I use life insurance this way? How do I get annuities over here? How do I do the 401k thing? Like all
mhm,
these things. So I'm really fucking grateful for that opportunity. But then it did get to a point where as I'm starting to make this money, now I'm investing in coaching to help just scale it essentially. And I remember, Micah, like calling my business partner for the 100th time, being like, "Where the fuck is my money going?" Like, I had to call these auto draft companies because I was negative. Like, if they would have draft, I would have gone negative in the bank, and I'm just like, I'm making more than I've ever made. I have coaches who are teaching me to make more. So, like, what is the disconnect in my brain and my body, you know? And bless my partner's, at the time, business partner, he was just like, I don't like, we've had this same conversation for the last like 10 months or 5 months or whatever it was. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. And without saying it, it was basically like, get your shit together and stop talking to me about it because nothing's changing. You know what I mean?
what did you like, your budget or something where you're like, "Oh, I was just spending too much money on groceries or going out," I don't know, like, or is it just like it was just disappearing?
I didn't have a budget. That was the problem.
Oh, that was the problem. It's
Yeah,
like,
I had
"Oh,
no idea how to budget. We didn't talk about this in my family. We didn't talk about the importance.
mm,
I like had like little containers for my money, if you will, but I just kept seeing everything as an investment in my business, and that can be a
oh, I
really
see."
dangerous trap for a small business owner. Like vacuum, like I spent $1,100 on vacuum cleaners one year, and it's just like, and I was writing it all off as business expenses, and it's like, were those necessary? No. So then I started really like diving into the books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Richest Man in Babylon, Profit First. That was life changing. That book, Profit First, is what got me out of the small business owner trap of like spending all your money instead of actually profiting.
Hmm.
And so then I had like direction and intention for my money. And so then that's where like percentages would be divided accordingly and all those things. So then I started scaling. And then that's when I was officially a profiting six-figure business. Okay. So I'm like, I made it. This is all cool. However, I remember the first time that I hit the six figures, I was like, wait, this is what the hype is about. Like, it was not satisfying whatsoever. I was like, in my bio, when it says blood, sweat, and tears, like I literally had bloody like heels from door knocking.
Oh, Lord.
I had so many tears, like nobody in my environment was talking about the emotional side of business, the rejection, the fear, the going past your comfort zone, the self-abandonment, the
Mm,
fear of judgment, like none of like the fear of budgeting incorrectly, like the scarcity, like nobody talked about it because I was surrounded by all like really driven masculine men who are just like, go, 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 like we hunt, we kill, and that's great for them. But here I am, this like little respite provider, creative caregiver, like coming into entrepreneurship. And I'm like, I was not equipped for this.
so, how many years ago was this? How old were you when you did hit six-figure income that year?
Yeah, so I started at 23 and by 26 I had the six figures.
Okay.
Um, so it took about 3 years, which hindsight, it felt like I was so far behind. Like I remember just crying with how far behind I felt because all my mentors were multimillionaires. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, so I felt so far behind, even though everyone around me was like, you are so far ahead. Even my manager, the woman who hired me, she was like, where you are right now, I was at about, she literally pulled up her money statements. She was like, I was producing half of what you're doing right now And look at me now. Like, just
Wow.
basically everyone was saying, like, chill the fuck out. And I was like, I couldn't breathe. Like, to the point where, like, I would go to church on Sundays and I would sit in the back. It was all blacked out basically, except for the stage during worship. I was just belting as loud as I could, singing along, and tears were streaming down my face every week without fail, because I would pray to God, please just melt this heart of stone. I
Hmm.
was in such survival and such scarcity and so much fear and loneliness that my heart was so closed. Like, I could not receive anything. Like, it was the hardest. I didn't realize I was in the dark night of the soul until I moved out to Kansas City.
Hmm.
And that's when it was like this veil had lifted. And everyone asks, like, what's the difference? What's the difference? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like I could breathe for the first time in 3 years upon moving to KC, even with shitty weather.
Well, I guess it's colder in Kansas City, but you get trade off on that extreme heat, maybe a smidge. I don't know. Texas heat is just it's a whole other
Let me
experience.
tell you, I'd rather door knock in 120 degrees rather than 20 degrees, and I did both. Like, I was like, "Fuck this," and I don't do well with the cold. Like, I swear I was born on the sun.
That's so
Anyways,
funny.
so
I
yeah,
I thought I was getting away from the cold weather, but it was 10 degrees the other day here in Asheville,
no,
and I'm
yeah,
like, it snowed here a few inches. I'm like, well, I like the snow. I like the cold. It's fine. But I was just like, I thought I moved to the south. I don't understand what's happening here. I thought it was gonna be like a little bit warmer for the
gotcha.
January. Yeah, it's like here's some negative, -2 degree wind chill, and still not as bad as Kansas City from what I hear, like 2 weeks ago or whatever, like or a
Mhm.
week ago. It's like
I feel like anything
negative.
below 40 degrees is just terrible.
It's just like,
It's just miserable.
do we live on the moon? What's happening here?
That's what I'm saying, Micah. I'm like, I'm not prepared for this.
So what
Anyways,
happened when you moved to Kansas City? Like how long from like I guess how many years ago was it when you moved to Kansas City?
yeah, so I moved end of 2018. So what is that, 5 years now? Or 4 years?
About yeah, 5. Yeah,
5 years.
6.
Damn,
I
5
guess
years.
depending
Well,
on what month this year will be. I guess
yeah,
it's 2024.
yeah, so
I
5
don't know.
years.
Don't ask me math questions. I was homeschooled. No, just kidding. That's
I'm
like,
like, "Math, isn't that
let me
my
just count on my nose real quick. Well, how many years is that?
I'm all for it, dude. I still do this, like,
Yeah, no, say
and I teach about money, and I still do this.
like
Uh,
it's pretty embarrassing when it's like time for me to leave a tip at the restaurant. Like friends are like, Micah, you can just like do 10% and then double it. Like take the number. Like, but I'm sitting there like trying to like actually
you're
do
like,
the
"Let me
math in
put my
my head
calculator."
and
Right.
just like you see the E equals MC squared graphs behind me. Like just
That is so
what
funny,
is this math problem Micah is facing? It's must be rocket science. It's like
right?
Micah, you understand you could just do this? I'm like, oh yeah, that makes more sense. Oh, that's how everyone does it. That's so much easier.
Right. Easy. Weren't we just talking about, like, ease, Micah?
Right.
Anyways, yeah, so I got here, I was still in the same company, um, transferred offices basically, and I fucking tore it up. Like, I tore it up in a good way. So my first quarter here, I ended up getting I made a nice chunk of change. I don't remember how much in that quarter, so that's 3 months, and then it was so good that it was a $14,000 bonus that I got, just free
Wow.
money on top of everything that I had produced. And what's cool about that, I bring that up specifically, is because I was in the market, or excuse me, I had closed on my first duplex down in Austin, and that was like a living like nightmare. Just it took 5 months to close. It really shouldn't have been taking that long. Anyway, so I finally got it closed, and by the time that I had gotten it closed, I, had made the decision that I was moving to Kansas City because I had visited a friend during that time, and I was like, "Oh, wow, I can breathe for the first time just visiting her." And so that
Wow.
to me was spirit saying, like, "Go where the is," you know what I mean? So, closed the property, found tenants in Texas, and then once I moved here, I was like, "I'm not doing real estate ever again." Which is funny because when I put that property under contract, I like everyone who had been helping me in the process was so nervous for me, but I felt so calm, cool, and collected. And then when I went behind that table, grabbed that pen and looked at this $250,000 investment in my 26-year young hands, and I'm signing for it, I felt like literally the image that came to my mind was Donald Trump. And I felt like I had done this a million times before. Like it was just no big thing for me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so it's funny that like it was so trying of a process that I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing that again. Um,
Mm,
but as happenstance, this when I transferred offices to Kansas City, KC, I had a friend that was like, "Hey, I actually know somebody who's like looking for real estate mentees if you want." And I was like, "Okay, cool." It ended up being a real chore, and she's also a real estate investor herself. So she has like 30 doors, 35 doors to her name the first year that she went into investing. So really hard hitter. And I was like, cool, I want to fuck with that. Like again, another feminine inner power, la la la. And she just so happened to find me a fourplex, and she wiggled enough. Um, she like found some loopholes so that the down payment of a fourplex, which normally would cost $80,000 where I'm at,
mm.
she got it to cost $14,000. So the exact amount
Wow.
that my bonus check was, right. So
That's
I was like,
crazy.
"Holy shit," like, I can't deny that. So yeah, then closed that baby in 35 days. I was like, "Wow, this is so much easier." And I've been living here ever since, and so, yeah, rent out 3 of the 4 units. I live in one of the units, so that's called house hacking for any of you who, follow Bigger Pockets real estate investing. And then, I
This
Airbnb
is so
my
funny. This sorry. I just so for those who don't know, I actually started a job at a real estate agency here in Asheville. I'm their marketing director. But I'm not used to this world at all. I'm so new to it that's like, oh, I'm trying to get our guy, my boss, on Bigger Pockets podcast. Like we're trying to do all this stuff, and we do
Wow,
like short-term rental investing. And
yeah.
so that's what they do. So it's just funny that you're saying all this stuff. I'm like, what a this world didn't exist to me like 2.5 months ago. Like even just the lingo of like getting under contract, I mean, just stuff that I kind of knew and inadvertently through whatever experiences, people, friends who invest in real estate. But anyways, I don't want to digress too much. It was just funny when you said Bigger Pockets or this like house
Totally,
hacking. I'm like, oh, that would probably be my next goal is to house hack, because that's what I was talking to a friend about the other day. I was like, how would I buy a house that I can like make money off the side of a portion of it,
totally,
renting
totally.
out part
Or
of
even
it.
just, like, finding roommates, like, that's house hacking if you own the house, like, do it, why not? And it's cool because Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first entrepreneurial book that I ever, read when I first began my journey, and that was what kickstarted my appreciation for real estate. And then I ended up investing $20,000 in one of his coaching programs, like, a year after I read his book, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing." So, highly I mean, yeah, I love real estate. One of my best friends is, like, so anti-landlords, and I'm like, "Well, good luck with that then." Like, I'm on a mission for prosperity in this lifetime. Like, I really know that I'm here to help transform poverty consciousness into a prosperity consciousness. And part of that was literally studying, like relating, dating money for so long, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's been life changing. I am excited for you to dive into that world.
I'm not making money yet.
That's
I'd like to think
it, but
that.
you got your foot in the door, Micah, dude. Like
My
that's
first time in corporate America, all my past
mm,
communication marketing jobs have been with nonprofits, and I'm like, yeah, basically the people who are selling all these houses are actually I get like a small commission, but anyways, we'll see. It's been a fun learning gig for the short time I've been there, right now, but it's definitely like you said, makes you feel like you're behind. And then I'm like, interest rates, everything going on, and it's I don't know, it made me feel better reading some articles. I was talking about just like, you know, I get it when the rates do come down and everyone starts trying to flood into the market to buy houses again, you're going to be competing with everybody. And so our whole selling point is get the right property to invest in now before rates, because you'll be basically fighting over garbage homes anyways.
mhm.
Like by that point.
Totally.
But just like, yeah, right now, if you're a millennial making under a certain amount of income, and especially in Asheville, like it's like your average house is like 350, $400,000. Like, but that's like 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom. It's like,
Wow.
it's really ridiculous. Like, well, it kind of just makes sense to rent right now, but yeah,
Yeah, it really
I'll
will.
get there someday,
You will.
with the help of friends like Emmy, who will help me become more money conscious. And like you said, I just always I was always raised that like money's not everything. And we didn't have necessarily the poverty consciousness like you're talking about. Like we were poor, but we didn't like feel poor, we like, and folks can go listen to episodes I just have with my parents. It was so lovely. Like we just grew up on a farm, had all of our needs met. It was beautiful.
It's awesome.
But, we were never like, they were pastors, and just kind of the model of following Christ. It was just like, we don't really focus on accumulating wealth as Christians. And yeah, I'm like, well, someone's got to start doing that, I guess, in our family. It's just like, well, I guess someone's got to start trying to figure out how we're going to support mom and dad or
Yeah,
whatever future family, this and that.
it's a real
So
thing. And what I realized is like, I a few things that keeps like popping up into my vortex lately is the concept of like money only enhances who you are. For example, if you're an asshole when you're broke, you're going to be an asshole when you have money. But if you're
mm,
service led and heart led pre wealth, then post wealth, you're only going to maximize that. And so if you already have a good heart, like it's kind of our duty to like create wealth so that we can spread wealth. Like as like Christians, right? Like it's to spread love and you can't help the poor if you're poor. You know what I mean?
mm,
So that has just like really like instilled this responsibility that I feel to not only rise my tides, but in rising my tides, I know that I everyone around me, their tides get risen as well. You know what I mean? So it really is about like maximizing abundance for all. And then especially now that I work with like, as you mentioned, beings with sacred service. So these are like the heart led, the spiritual entrepreneurs, like those who are here to make a change, to change the paradigm that we are living here on earth. And the same thing of like, those are the people who are here for impact. Like they are going to make impact. Well, if you're not taking care of or stewarding your finances, then your impact can't grow. But if
mm,
you are, then you are like if you are taking care of your money, then you can reinvest and then the impact is just greater and greater and greater. So your abundance just continues to multiply. And as the author of The Richest Man in Babylon mentions, like where there's wealth, wealth tends to multiply when it's taken care of.
mm.
So it's just a beautiful reminder that being wealthy isn't evil. Having money
Right.
isn't evil by any means. But anyways, so yeah, I going into Kansas City, I was just like really on a high, like having that first quarter, just like it just felt so effortless. And I had my business partner in Austin who was like helping close some deals over there. I was making new connections over here in Kansas City because I basically like started from ground zero, building a new clientele. And then 2020 or no. It was right before that. So 2019, I started realizing like I want this to be easier. So I invested in a coach who was teaching insurance agents and financial advisors how to basically do paid ads online. And that was a whole journey of me not listening to my intuition. Oh my god, it's so funny. Like I just listened to my fucking intuition. No, he had like two routes. Like one was like the traditional route and one was the online route. And my whole intention of investing in this program was to do the online route, but because I was borderline, I was like, "Oh, maybe I should do level 1 and then do level 2, which is the online." But I should have just went straight and like owned my power a little bit more on that one. Because then 2020 did hit and then shit was hitting the fan and I was screwing around trying to figure out this online stuff. And my
Mm,
insurance managers were like pissed that I wasn't like in person, even though nobody was answering their doors because everyone was freaking out about COVID and all this shit. And I'm like, okay, but I'm trying something new over here. Anyways, so then I left insurance after about 5 years, and it was really a time of just rest. Like, I did not have the bandwidth. I mean, when you are running for 5 years straight as a feminine, gentle being,
Mm.
it's so hard on the body. And so I really just took the opportunity to rest. And so I actually ended up working for the coach that I had hired. I worked underneath him, and just did sales calls for him instead of like trying to do my entire business and like figure and run that out. It was just like, you show up, you take sales calls, you read a script, and you go home. And it was so fucking amazing. Like, it was just so amazing for that period of time because I could just be, and I re-nourished myself. I got back into daily jogging and daily meditation and daily juicing and daily um reading and writing and all these things. And it was just like I was getting back to my health, right? And then I even got like a membership at a spa or like a wellness club. So I was getting monthly massage, monthly facials, monthly Reiki energy healing.
All right.
Dude, I mean,
Nice.
talk about like vibrant, right? Like, I was just vibing.
I try to splurge on a massage here and there because yeah, they're life changing, and I'm like, what? Why don't I do this more often? You know, it's like,
Dude. Well, and now I have a business coach who actually talks about like the emotional nourishment like required for entrepreneurship. And it's so crazy because I've always been taught like, oh, you need business coaching. But what about the emotional coaching? Because business is like, for a spiritual entrepreneur, it's such an emotional game. Like, you're over analyzing, overthinking, you're over feeling. You're also like, to me, all business is relationship, it's communication. And so people are triggering, right? Like, we are human. We will be triggered by people. And so it's so funny. Like, yeah, I didn't realize that how necessary emotional, what's the word?
like self care kind of.
Essentially, yeah. But just having that monthly consistency was really, really important. And then what's so funny is because so then I started feeling like the itch to build, to create again. And I always said, like, if I ever do business, it's going to be from a totally different way. Like, it's got to have more feminine. There has to be more flow, more ease, la, la, la.
Mm.
And I just kind of like kept calling that in. I was not in a rush to do business again or create or like to go back into entrepreneurship. Um, but actually my boss at the time, his wife was leading bufo and combo ceremonies, which, are you familiar with that?
No, say
Okay.
more.
Yeah, so bufo and combo, those are 2 different toads, and they both excrete poison, and you either
Oh shit,
yeah,
it's like psychedelic frogs.
yes,
Oh no way.
yeah. I had no idea that that's what I literally had no idea that that's what I was signing up
You're
for.
like, cool. This sounds great. Whatever.
We're going to Mexico?
Bufo. Well, what's it called? Bufo and what?
And then combo, it's Kambo.
Combo, huh?
Yeah, so combo is a purgative. Again, didn't know that. But I felt like just everything in my being was like, you need to try this. So I did I was the only one on the retreat that did combo. And what they do is they actually, like, my facilitator took like the butt of a like piece of sage, and he burnt that, and then he used that to burn my skin, and he made like 8 little dots on my leg, and then he would peel away the skin and then glob the poison onto that, and that's how it got into the blood system, or the bloodstream.
That's metal as fuck. And
Dude,
that is the most metal like trip experience. You told me they had to peel back your skin to put this poison in there.
and I'm like kind of nervous, but not really knowing I'm nervous. But I have like 2 male facilitators. I'm alone in a foreign country with my very masculine, intense boss, and like somewhere out there. No idea what's about to happen. And it's funny, like, it wasn't working because I think I was so guarded. Um, that they were like had to reapply. So essentially I had like 12 globs of this poison, which is a lot. It's a lot. And so finally within seconds it finally like came, and I just started purging, and like I mean my body like yeah, I mean my soul literally left my body, and I like fell flat, and I was purging and screaming, and like everyone thought I was at war. I mean, I was literally at war. I was literally at war internally. Um Anyways, but it was so crazy, and I bring this up because he chose my left leg to ingest the medicine, or to like input the medicine. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the left side of the body is typically symbolic of feminine energy. And the craziest part is about a week before I had left for Mexico, I actually got diagnosed with malignant melanoma on the right side of my body. So cancer on the right side, which is associated with the masculine energy. So here I am, like really in receiving mode. I'm in healing mode. I'm in regeneration mode. So I am softening into my feminine energy as I'm healing from just a really hard fear, survival, scarcity way of doing life, business. And then as soon as all that dissipates, I get diagnosed with cancer. And then I all of a sudden have a spiritual journey with just welcoming ease and flow. Like that's what the spirit is ease and flow and trust, right? Like those are very typical feminine energies. And this whole time I had been saying, I want to do business differently, more ease, more flow, more trust.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, purged it all out, got the cancer out in one fall swoop. It was we're good to go on that front. And it was just a beautiful juxtaposition, because I have a picture even where I'm laying on this beautiful bright spring green grass after a thunderstorm in Kansas City, and my left leg has the scars of combo, and then my right leg has the scar of like taking out of the cancer. And it's just this beautiful juxtaposition of a welcoming and a closure in my life. And so, yeah, I mean, it wasn't even a month after that I went to my boss at the time, who essentially paid for that retreat. I was like, hey, by the way, I won't be working for you anymore. I gotta go.
Hey, pretty cool boss though, to want to like take you to Mexico and do something like that. Like, haven't had any bosses that were chill like that. Hey, you want to go do
Totally.
some like psychedelic frog poison?
Totally. Well, that's the funny part. He's so not chill in business. Like he's so like, I mean, think of like NFL football coaches
Yeah.
times 10. Like that was him. Like he was like life is very serious for him. And so it's cute that he like manifested a wife that is very much into like all of that stuff, and like it's like the literal like feminine masculine polarity right there, like their relationship. And so yeah, it was awkward like knowing he was there, because we weren't that close, and he scared me, to be frank. Like he really was scary to my nervous system, and I didn't know it at the time, just because he was so intense.
Yeah, can you share a little bit more about that? Because we were kind of started to talk about that some weeks ago when we first chatted. Just like you were talking about the creative process and like tapping into both the the feminine, the masculine, and just like curious, like what does that mean to you? Like I didn't even know, like when you were talking about like the left side being associated with the right side, like I guess like kind of what's this paradigm you're referring to, and like is it like kind of rooted in a certain philosophy, a way of being, or is it kind of like just an amalgamation of a bunch of philosophies that you kind of like read or studied on? Or I'm just curious, like what like can we delve into that a little bit more?
Like where that comes from, basically.
Where it comes from, but like yeah, just like what is that? How does that impact your creativity, and how do you, because I know like it just seems like that's part of like your journey and what you try to share and teach others to like tap
Mhm.
in both the masculine and feminine in their creative
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, that's funny. Um, so to be honest, I don't remember like if it's Chinese medicine or like who deemed, maybe it's Ayurvedic, like the left side is feminine, the right side is masculine. So I don't remember the origin of that. How I see it manifesting in my life is I quote unquote grew up in business with the very masculine way, so much so that I developed a cancer on my masculine side. So that tells me I was in overdrive, right? And then I got invited to, now I work with living water as my mode of business. And so it's very similar in like, it's sales and it's bridging health and wealth, literally. And it's online. However, the community that I work with or am a part of, that teaches like sacred sales and sacred, like bringing integrity back into the sales process, it's very spiritual based. Um,
Mm.
and so, in fact, the leader of my water community is the epitome of feminine embodiment. And so she literally like floats through life. And so, I have this experience of very hard masculine way of doing business. I'm seeing this beautiful representation of what's possible. Like you can be a seven-figure earner being very flowy and feminine and floating through life. You know what I mean? And so what I find though is, I kind of say like dehydrated spirituality versus hydrated spirituality, or dehydrated entrepreneurship versus hydrated entrepreneurship. And what I find in the dehydrated spirituality spiritual communities is like they're so in the flow that like it's almost stagnancy, right?
Mm.
And there's not movement. And like part of karma, I mean, karma literally translates to action. And so um if we're here to make impact, we can't, in my experience, we can't just like be sitting still all day, every day, or else
Sure.
we would be monks, right? So
Needs to
then
be some agitation, some
totally,
mm,
yes. So then that's where we want to bring in the masculine side. The masculine is the doing, it's the penetrating, it's the moving forth, it's the seeking, right? Like the creative process actually, like if you think about it, it's doing energy. It is masculine energy. And so it's just now for me, it's like, how do we bring divine masculinity into our entrepreneurship, or divine femininity into our entrepreneurship, rather than like all or nothing thinking, or overdrive or underdrive, you know what I mean? And so
mm,
that's where it's this beautiful balance of like it's the flow of both, because one needs the other, right? The river needs the river bank in order to flow, in order to be guided. I think about in my dancing, like I do a type of dancing called liquid motion. So it's very fluid, it's very sensual, it's just very like engulfing. However, if I didn't do my strength training to have the core, to have the glutes, to have the calves to carry me through the movements, I would literally just be on the floor. You know what I mean? So it's just I see this beauty of like blending both the structure and the somatics, right? The logic and the magic in life. And for me, that's where I tend to find more magic, is by doing that and kind of like chilling out, right? Like it is bringing the chill, like the feminine is bringing the chill a little bit.
So would you say that your time in Texas, you were tapped into more what you're describing as like that masculine entrepreneurship, and like during COVID when you kind of had that time of reflection and rest and having this transformative like kind of religious ceremony, psychedelic experience, you felt like you were kind of able to connect more into your feminine flow, is what you were kind of like saying with your like business side of things, or like I guess I'm trying to like marry the world of like your spiritualness with your like what came together with your entrepreneurial business kind of
Yeah, like
concepts.
how do you become a spiritual entrepreneur, basically?
Yeah, basically like when did all that start to take shape?
So that took shape with the water. Yeah, so that like this was just such a dream of mine. Like I somehow like I followed Deepak Chopra for as long as I could remember, and I'm like, he's making money and he's spiritual. You know what I mean? So like there has to be a way. Like, and I have so much depth to me that like being in the world of insurance where people literally just talk about numbers, facts, figures, and data. I'm like, that's all well and good, and I'm good at it. Like I've got a lot of left brain, a lot of masculine.
Sure.
And there just wasn't an opportunity for me to have the fun, deep conversations. And so It had been on my radar of like, how do I blend spirituality with like spiritual success with financial success? Like there has to be a way, because I don't take no for an answer. And I believe that we create our paradigms. So,
Totally.
now that I'm saying this, this is so fucking hilarious. Like universe is always responding. Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was in 2022. So January of 2022, I got hit with COVID. And this was the third strain. And one of my friends had just got out of an 8-month post-COVID fatigue / depression that was happening from this particular strain. And about 2 weeks in, I'm laying in my bed, just unable to move, I started to have that post-COVID fatigue / depression, like those ideations, the thought processes, the
Mm.
like very slippery slope, right? And I just realized like there's no fucking way I'm going down that route. Like not for 8 months. I'm not going to be immobile for 8 months. Like that's just unacceptable for me. And what was crazy is, quote, by happenstance, I had met a woman who like a month prior to who had made like a comment about this magic water. We didn't go into conversation, didn't really dive into it, but then all of a sudden I started seeing other people who she wasn't associated with on my newsfeed talk about Kangen water. So it was getting like I was just in observation mode, right? Like it was getting closer in my vortex. Okay. So fast forward, I get hit with COVID. I'm starting to have the depression and fatigue. And all I hear intuitively is get the water. You need the water, get the water, get the water. And as we know, when intuition speaks, like intuition told me to go get my skin checked out. And that's how I found out about the cancer. I'm like, all right, I'm getting this damn water. Like, whatever. Didn't do any research, didn't really care. So I texted the woman. I was like, I need this water. Let's start a trial. And within the first half gallon of this water, I was jumping up my stairs again. I was dancing in my room. I did 3 weeks worth of laundry after not moving for almost a month. And just
Mm.
intuitively, I kept seeing a lightning bolt. And my cells, like, just, I felt like my cells were jumping up and down saying, more, feed me, like the little bubbles from like In and Out or whatever that movie is, the Disney movie. Inside Out, Inside Out. And
I was picturing like Horton Hears a Who. Like,
yeah,
we are here. We are here.
Micah, yes, that's perfect. That's perfect.
All our cells who worship the being entity that is, Micah or Emmy. They're just like,
Yeah.
please, we are here. Feed us. Give us
We are here.
nutrition.
We are here. We are here. We are here. We are here. I love it. That's so perfect. Oh. Anyways, yeah. So I ended up getting this magic water. It changed my life. Got rid of so many ailments that I didn't even realize I had, like allergies, IBS, la la la. And part of the water is an opportunity to share the water. So essentially, you're an affiliate for the water, right? So a business opportunity. And I just kind of like fell into that option, right? And so because the leader of this sect of the water is so spiritual and so feminine and financially very successful, I'm like, all right, I'm going to stick around this, right? Because we want to be associated with those who have what we desire, like we want to learn from them, we want to be in aura with them. And so that's how I got into the next round of entrepreneurship, if you will. If life is one big spiral that we keep repeating with greater consciousness every round, that's how I got invited to do entrepreneurship, but more on a spiritual side. And entrepreneurship, like business creation in general, takes a level of masculinity where a lot of people in the spiritual community don't recognize that because they haven't had to be disciplined or show up or consistent. And these are all like quote unquote masculine traits. And so, yeah, I just get to blend now my experience of how I grew up in business to now my desire of how business looks like.
Mm.
Does that answer your question a little?
Yeah, totally. And as far as like, we can jump into like I don't know how much you can share what's proprietary, technology or what have you. But I do want to back up to something you were just talking about, just even like our existence maybe being a spiral of continuation.
Dude.
um I've been thinking about that a lot lately, as far as just like, you know, eternity,
Mhm.
our consciousness maybe being in a circle, and that we, or whatever, parallel universe, or multiverse theory, where uh when I die I jump into the next form of Micah. That's this alien planet version of Micah in another, I don't know. What do you think, like, what's your kind of philosophy of the existence of life? Like, what's your belief on, like, because I know you've been talking about spirit and you've been kind of talking about your spiritual journey. Do you feel like there's this divine entity that is governing a flow of eternal events, that is the version of us that's conscious? Do you think we stop being conscious and we stop existing at some point? There's lots of questions that I think about this stuff every day. I basically wake up and I'm like having, like,
Existential crisis
oh
every
yeah, I'm like trying to do yoga in the morning and just breathe before I
You're
go to
like, "Why am
work.
I
And
here?"
it's like, do I even have a fucking body in the next life? Like, is there even a next life? I don't know. I'm just
Mhm.
curious. Like, I don't know. There's just times where, like, when I think about money or the need for it in this realm of this reality, I'm like, you know, yeah, that's just a thing that kind of comes with the nature of the game that we're born into here. But there's just
Yeah,
moments where it's like, well, why does any of this fucking matter if I'm gonna
so
exist
that's
in
a
some other
big
version
yeah,
later on?
that's a big thing, yeah. I go in and out of like, "Wait, why am I working so hard for money if none of this matters?" And then when I get into that point, I'm like, "But why not?" Like, why not feel what it feels like to be able to have most of your desires, if not all of your desires, achieved? And, I don't know about you, but, like, I will be living in Mexico or somewhere on a beach 3 months of the year. So when Kansas City hits winter, like, I will be on a beach, and that requires money, you know what
You're
I
gonna
mean?
be a snowbird. You're gonna go out there.
125,000%, yes. And here's the thing is, like, we all have access points to spirituality, to this deeper existentialism. My access point is money and building, like, entrepreneurship. My friend's access point is, priestessing, so somebody who runs ceremonies. I have another person, like, another mentor of mine, her access point was feminine embodiment. We all have these different access points to
Mm.
essentially just connect deeper within and really, like, feel life, like, feel the energies. And so nothing is right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just like, what is your access point? And maybe your access point is that of the writer. I'm gonna go a little crazy right here. There is this
Please
movie
do.
that's like 10, 15 years old. I just discovered it with one of my best friends. It's called Nymphomaniac. And it is a two have you heard of this movie or no?
I feel like I have. I don't know if I've seen it though.
It is so right. I mean, you have to be
Is it wild?
prepared to
Is it
watch it.
wild?
It's fucking like it's a 6-hour, two-part movie, 6
You know
hours.
what? My coworker was just telling. I think he was telling me about this. He was like, "It's basically a movie in 3 parts or whatever." He was telling me I should see it. So this is the universe telling me I should find this. There's a thing here.
It's intense, like, it's really, like, emotionally and physically intense, so just, like, you kinda have like, wait for the weekend or when you're not working or whatever. Um, Anyways, it's essentially, like, this woman and this man, this older gentleman, having a very, like, intellectual conversation, like a 6-hour intellectual conversation, and she's essentially describing her journey of sex addiction as the spiritual process. So,
Hmm.
like, we all it's an access point. All that to say is it's an access point. So, like, do I believe that there are multiple lives? Absolutely. I've literally done past life regressions. Now, when I first started my spiritual journey when I was 20, 21 ish, it was more of like understood that like to be enlightened means you don't have to come back to earth, right? And I knew, like, I was like, this is going to be my last lifetime on earth. Like, I ain't coming back, y'all. Like, this is, and back then it was a living hell. And now on my path, it's like getting closer to like, oh, wait, this gets to be the like heaven on earth. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So now do I believe that like you don't come back after a certain level of enlightenment? I don't know. Cause it just, maybe it just changes forms, right? Like to what you were just describing, like maybe I'm an alien next lifetime, or maybe I'm an angel next lifetime, or maybe, I don't know. At some point though, it does get a little exhausting of like, holy shit, I'm doing this all over again and again and again. But I think what we're doing, like as these cohorts or these generations are waking up sooner, like I think about like my kiddos, my in the future are going to be much more conscious or awake or aware sooner than I was. And I was an early bird, I would say. Like I was an
Mm.
early bird and my kiddos are going to be even earlier than me. And so what happens when that happens? I don't know. But do I think that there is a higher power? I think there's higher power.
Mm.
I don't know that it's one God.
Sure.
I think God now has transformed into an energy. It's Christ consciousness is an energy rather than like a person or one being, but a collective for sure.
That's beautiful.
Mm,
You were saying something, and it kind of reminded me of something I wrote down. It's probably, I don't know how many years ago this was, but I saved it because it just, I don't know, for some reason it helped me. And I think using the term access point is kind of cool when we think about, yeah, whatever our collective meaning that we create together comes from our kind of uniqueness and non-uniqueness, the things we bring to the table, so to speak, that kind of
mhm,
makes the tribe, it makes community. And so I wrote this thing that was just like, if nihilism means life is utterly meaningless, then relationships with people remind us that we are meaningless together. And when we are lost together, a community. And where there is community, there is God, there is love, there is meaning. And so that was just like kind of like a moment of like trying to get out of that existential self dread, and just like, well, I guess we're all in this together. If we're gonna not be sure what any of this means, we just kind of make that meaning together. And I just thought it
yeah.
was cool when you're bringing up the idea of like, you know, it's not about what we do that makes us like defined us entirely, but like what energy we're doing, if it's like in the creative sphere, entrepreneurial, it's like when we bring all those things together to the table as a village, as a people, that's community, and that meaning is kind of co-created to some level.
Yeah, it's really interesting you bring that up because last summer I was creating one of my courses to pardon me, to help guide people with their when they purchase their water machine. I wanted to have them go through a process to support the detox that happens. And one thing that really like one code, one drop, if you will, that really like solidified in my body was it's almost like okay, so in your physical body, like there's the white blood cell, the red blood cell, killer T cells, the mitochondria, like all of these things, like every aspect has a function. And in order for the bigger body to perform well and to like exist well, every cell or everything within has to be performing and doing their part, right? Like they have to take ownership of like the killer T cells are to fight infection, the white blood cells fight this type of infection, like everybody has to be doing like living their genius essentially. And
Mm.
that's such a metaphor for community, right? Like uh, I think existence period. Like I have to tap into my genius of money. You have to tap into your genius of writing. So and so has to tap into their genius of feminine embodiment. And it's only when we're like living and breathing in our zone of genius that the bigger collective is then functioning at its proper
Mm.
um level. Like, I don't think that we were all meant to be sitting at desks. Some of us, yes, data analytics could be your genius, you know what I mean? But like for
Mhm.
everybody, especially those who are like complaining about their job, like that's probably a sign you're not functioning the way that you're supposed to for the greater collective. And so I just really like equated to each of us as like it's almost like a role to our humanity to like step into and discover our like why we're here, really.
Yeah, and on that note, you kind of I like your term you've created, beings of sacred service.
Mm.
And so how does that all interrelate with like your coaching to kind of help people come to their kind of fruistic or their fruition of like self-expression? Um and yeah, just where did that term how did you come up with it? What does it entail?
Yeah, full disclosure, my mentor at the Water Priestess on Instagram, she's the one that coined it, and when I first heard it, which I think was like a year after she started saying it, when I first heard it, I was like, "That is my people. Those are mine."
So
Um,
what I'm hearing is trademark. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, we need to go whoever that give it to her.
yeah,
She's on.
interview Jilly. No, so I'm sorry, where what was the question with that?
Oh, just that like how do you encourage individuals like
Mm,
to embrace their role as like a being of sacred service and like just kind of what does that
yeah,
entail? Like how are I guess if she came up with the term like I just knew it was kind of part of your work and just didn't know what that entailed with like if it's tied to your coaching
got it.
or with the the sacred stewardship, kind of
Mhm.
program or just tell me all the things. How does all of this how does the world of Emmy coalesce into this?
Yeah.
No.
So what's beautiful is the people who are service led, so the beings of sacred service, they know that their heart is pure. They're probably a light worker. They are service led and they are here to make impact, right? Like there's greatness in their heart. They know that they were born for something pretty big in this lifetime. And so those beings, like what I know to be true about success is like your success, whether financial or physical, can only equate to how well you are taking care of your body, how well you're nourishing your body. So what you're feeding it physically, like the living foods, what you're watching on TV, how often are you working out, the type of working out, and then what you drink. And so as we find the ways to optimize our bodies, we get to optimize our performance and then we have more energy to serve and make bigger impact and la la la, right?
Mm.
So working with people who are already in like service roles, so like a wellness club owner or let's see who of course I'm like blanking on all of my clients right now.
I was like, or the masseuses, or even all the
Yes, thank
folks
you.
that are doing all the
Yeah,
hands-on.
even the hands-on, yes, yes, anyone who has, like, a hands-on business or just business in general, like, takes a lot out of you, and so we need to be nourishing our bodies, and one of the way that we do that is with living water, and so that's the machine that I affiliate with, and so by doing that, not only are you serving yourself to then serve others, you're optimizing your body to then optimize your impact, and when you optimize your impact, you're optimizing your abundance. So it really is like so interconnected and it all stems down to like taking care of your body and then creating streams of income from there and you know stewarding your money properly.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I guess can you share a little bit more just like because you started to kind of go into the like physical effects of like how important it is to, exercise and kind of have this overall like balance in your life ecology. But like how does like the actual machine, I guess, product work that
Mm.
you are um yeah, that's changed your life.
Yeah, it's really cool. Um, there can be a lot of resistance to like an increase in responsibility, right? And my mentor, Jilly, who I was just talking about, the 7-figure earner, she was saying that this resistance to responsibility is actually like a very subtle victim energy. And I really have been sitting with that, like, damn. Like, fuck,
Burn.
yeah. And like I pride myself on like removing victim energy, and it's part of my gene keys this lifetime to like remove victim energy. And I grew up with so much victimhood around me. Um, Anyways, all of that to say is like as we increase with responsibility in work, for example, it can be really hard to justify, oh, I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to eat right. I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to go for a walk, right? So what's cool about living, like just literally switching out your water is like you're already drinking water. It might as well be the kind of water that lifts the mental fog. It lifts this veil that you didn't even realize was there. It helps with arthritis. It helps with people's cancer. It helps with calcification on the body, on the bones. It helps with your IBS. It helps get with, it helps with your sleep cycle. It helps with XYZ. I mean, people have decreased anxiety, decreased panic attacks, depression, like all of these things have been reported in my community. And my water community is now over 1,000 people.
Wow.
And that's just one sect of the community. I mean, there's like 20,000 machines being sold every single month for the last 7 months straight. So like, this is a really big movement, if you will.
Wow.
And so, as far as the machine, it's literally just like this little water robot that hooks up to the faucet. And what it does is it not only filters the water, we do recommend getting pre-filters though, in case you want to get like really like all the shit out of the tap water system because it's disgusting.
Hmm.
There's pharmaceuticals, there's hormones from birth control in the water, like it's disgusting. So you get a pre-filter, and then this water box that hooks up to your faucet, it filters the water, and then it goes through a process called electrolysis, which basically think of a lightning bolt striking a hot spring in the middle of the country. So there's no there's no soil pollution, there's no air pollution. It's just this beautiful electrical charge from that lightning bolt.
Hmm.
That is essentially what you're drinking then. And because of that electrical current, that is where the healing properties lie. So it's like restructuring the water molecule. So you're getting molecular hydrogen, you're getting electrons, which if you're familiar with like grounding or earthing, like walking barefoot on the earth.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Okay, the reason that's so important or so beneficial is because Mama Earth omits negative ions, also known as electrons. So now you're drinking them. So it literally changes the flow and the structure of your blood. Like it's really potent stuff. So people, like I always say, when we experience inflammation in the body, I mean, even just listen to the word inflammation, flame. How do
Hmm.
we put a flame out? With water. And if we're 90% water on a molecular level as physical beings, and we all have an electromagnetic field around us, then it makes sense that our body craves what we are, which is electric water. So just simply by swapping the water, I mean, people are having these massive, um, like transformative physical and then spiritual as well as emotional experiences with that. And then that's why they're able to operate at a totally different standard for their creations, for their families. I mean, they're just showing up differently. It's literally called the Kangen glow. Like people are like, "Wow, you're glowing. Your skin is glowing. Your aura is glowing." I'm like, "Cheers." You want some?
Wow. So is it something like after so much time you have to like switch out the electrical components? Like, is it like works for life? I don't know. I guess I'm just curious. Like, is there a
Yeah,
point where you have to like do some maintenance to the machine to like
sure.
keep, you know?
Totally, totally. Maintenance, I can't believe how easy it is. Like the machines are built to last like 30 to 40 years. So that's great. It's like certified medical grade, right? So you can even write it off as a medical device on your taxes.
Hmm.
True story. Hospitals in Japan use it as part of not only their prescriptions, if you will, but they also use different components for like the disinfectant and all of that stuff. Anyways, So with how powerful of a machine, like I was personally like dumbfounded to find out that like I replace the filter once a year and then I clean the machine by pushing 3 buttons and then it does like an auto clean like once a month. So that's
Wow.
really it. And then you can get it deep cleaned every couple years just to keep it fresh. I have a gentleman who's had his machine for about 10 years and he just sent it back to get deep cleaned. And they were like, this doesn't even need a deep cleaning because he's so um, consistent on his like auto cleans. So it's really, really laid back as far as maintenance. But yeah, just like anything, it's kind of like an oil change for your car, right? Like there's always going to be a little bit of maintenance.
And what's the name of the company that created it?
Yeah, the company is called Enagic, so it's Enagic. Been around, this is the 50th year. Again, certified
Wow.
medical grade. They're actually founded in Okinawa, Japan, which if you watch Netflix, Okinawa is actually one of um the few countries that have the most centenarians, so people who live to be 100 years plus.
No
And
way.
part of it
Hmm.
is the water. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, everyone who's listening, if you put in the promo code Emmy Harr 2020, you're gonna get your free what? No, just kidding. Emmy's like, I didn't sign up for
I
that.
know,
Just
right? I mean, hey, I
kidding.
do have water trials that are
I'm
global.
just kidding. Well,
So,
you are. I want you could throw out your website and stuff. Everything. You are not an official, and Enagic is not an official sponsor of the Pray for Micah podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
yet.
We are not. We're not official affiliate at this point. Uh,
Right.
Rayla might need some electric water. She's licking and chewing on herself over here. It's like
Dude, dogs love it. It's so
whatever energy you need to get electrocuted with in your water, it might cure your skin allergy issues. I don't know.
electrocuted.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm being facetious. I'm being exaggerating, but anyways, I was just trying to do like the Oprah thing, and then you get a machine. You get a everybody gets one. Uh what? Look under your chair. Oh my god, I actually have a water.
Dude, that'd be epic.
You're like, actually, Michael, look underneath your chair right now. I had somebody sneak into your apartment in Asheville and give you a machine.
I
Uh
wanna get on with Oprah. We're gonna make
well,
this
I
happen.
guess to kind of like summarize just kind of like your overall journey and just like where you're at. Yeah, just share with us like on top of like these entrepreneurial journeys that you're doing. Like how has that shaped and changed like your where you're at right now? Like it sounds like from like a mental spiritual place, we're never going to be perfect. We will never just I have attained, I am now there. It's all kind of an everyday, like you said, we have a responsibility to wake up and show up to be where we need to be and go where we want to go. But like how do you feel like with this year, like the book you're allegedly writing, like where's this journey you feel like taking you? I'm not saying
Allegedly.
allegedly. I guess just tell us more about this book. Tell us about where you're going. Where is all this heading?
Yeah, that's so funny. Last year was such a year of creation for me. I invested in a very high ticket coach who helped me create the courses, create the the free online events, the Facebook containers, the all of that stuff. And part of that coaching program, there's about 10 of us women out of the 16 that were in the cohort that are sharing our stories in a book called Dare to Express, and it's the 3rd or 4th one in her series. I've got one of them right over here. So yeah, I'm a co-author amongst 10 other women,
Oh,
basically
that's cool.
sharing our stories, and the book gets released, I believe, April 5th of this year. So really basically what I just shared with you, like my journey of survival entrepreneurship to cancer diagnosis to psychedelic ceremony to feminine embodiment in business, like that's essentially what I'll be like sharing on, but a little bit more on like the emotional or energetics of it.
Mhm.
Um, and then this year is like it feels fucking massive. I mean, yeah, I mean it really feels like last year was like laying the ground the foundations, right? Having these systems in place. And now it's like falling in love with the systems, right? It's letting the feminine flow within the system, the structure, the systems, and just like having this really like big energetic shift of trusting the masculine in my business. So trusting the systems, aka be patient.
Mm,
Like patient is not one of my strong suits. And yeah, it just feels already like more ease, more flow. And not as fearful as I had been in business, and it's beautiful, and to me, that's
mm,
success right there. Like, the money will come, I trust in my ability to create money and steward money, and now I get to do it from a grounded, inspired space, excuse me, as opposed to the fear, scarcity, survival space, so it's totally different. Anyway, so that's on the horizon, that's how the book got, came about, and we're just kind of moving forward. It feels like a rinse and repeat kind of year, which feels good. It feels
yeah,
nourishing to be like, oh, hey, I've got this. I don't have to go into chaos mode to create.
yeah, that's great. And yeah, that sounds like a really cool like like project to be a part of and to like co-author and share your story with them. And what's the title going to be? And do you guys have a launch date yet? Like a publishing date?
Yeah, so it's Dare to Express. And then I believe April 5th is when we're launching.
Okay. Everybody be on the lookout. I'm assuming it's gonna be on Amazon and stuff like that,
Yeah,
or
so it'll be on Amazon, and then
go to your website because we don't want to just support Amazon, the behemoth. We want to go and purchase it and support
yeah,
you all directly, right?
this part is so new to me, so I've got to figure that out. I'm sure that we will be able to do. I,
You'll have a website at some point, I'm assuming. Oh, sorry, I
are
think
you
you
there?
cut out. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, my thing just cut out.
Well, you're back.
Um,
Well, cool. I'm assuming when you have a website or something, I can also include that in the link description here on the video whenever that comes. But we got the title and we got the launch date for when the book's coming out.
yeah, sorry. All right.
No, you're
I'll
fine. It's one of those things that like, yeah, it happens. Like everyone's got to like, oh shit, I got to build a website for this thing and, like, and then take payments for it through it. It's,
yeah. So, that's what I was saying. My internet was cutting out a little bit. I don't think we're actually like, I think, we're actually wanting people to go through Amazon.
oh, okay. Oh, it's
If
like
I'm
maybe you're publishing through Amazon
I
because there's,
wonder.
yeah.
I'm just a writer, Micah. I don't know any of this
Well, you're like, I don't have to worry about these logistics. These are handled by my publicists. These are I don't
Literally.
I
I'm
don't
like,
busy myself with these things. Yeah, go and look on the interwebs, search for it.
there we
You
go.
we will take your money one way or the other, and you will. Well, Emmy, thanks so much for being here and just sharing some of your story. And
Mm,
um, yeah, I hope you feel like just everything you're a part of, and just you feel seen, you feel heard, and yeah, our lives should be celebrated for the journeys and how beautiful it is to like move into a place like you said of not living in fear. And I think that is something that I'm taking away from this conversation, that
mm,
with whatever we do, like there's going to be uncertainty moving into new places, starting new business ventures or new jobs, but yeah, that it's okay to experience fear, but our courage helps us move out of that place of operating and making choices out of fear. And I think that's a powerful part of your story that really resonated
yeah.
with me today.
That's a good distinction, Micah, because fear is not bad. Like, thank God we have fear. Truly, it's helped us. It's literally protected us and kept us alive for centuries. However, when we're operating, if fear is the baseline, that's where we get to start doing some nervous system work. That's where we have to start looking at our patterns, our energetic patterns, our mental patterns, or stories, and to get us out of that to then into the inspired state. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that distinction was clear.
Totally. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah. I think that's
Cool.
powerful. Go ahead and share with folks like where they can find you online. Throw out your Instagram handles, your websites, all the links, all the promos. Where can people find the things?
Yeah, I'll keep it pretty simple. So as far as like Instagram or TikTok, it's at rippled_vibrations. And then my website for the water is going to be www.rippledvibrations.love. And then if you want to check out the course that comes with the water machine, it'll be www.rippledvibrations.love /charged. So CHARGED.
Is it 7, 8 years? I can't. How many? CHAR.
Right.
Let me count with my fingers. How many letters have I got?
Words are hard, but I can speak, I promise.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, y'all be sure to follow her. And yeah, just shoot us a comment, any thoughts, expressions. If you go try out her Enagic water system, be sure to leave a comment, let her know how much it's changed your experience. Like I said, I'm gonna have to explore that world with you off camera, off interview, but just thanks for coming today and sharing some of your story and journey with us.
Yeah, and thank you, Micah, again for having me. Again, your questions were so well thought out, well articulated, and just had a really beautiful and effortless flow. So thank you for making me feel welcome and seen and heard. This is really
Did I
powerful.
tap into some feminine energy? Did I have flow today?
You
Did
had that. Oh my
I
God.
had that flow going?
Of course.
Well, y'all, till next time. Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review, and check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll see you next time.
You are now re-entering the normal world.